Hello and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. This is episode 287. My name is Emily Rainbow Davis. Thank you for listening to the blogcast. Today's blog is even sillier than last week's. I guess, who knows what was happening. Well, I guess we know what was happening, but I feel like I'm careening wildly between super sad, depressing, whatever, and then just ridiculously. I guess that's life in 2022. It's just woo. So this was inspired by my sitting at a particular cafe. I will tell you what cafe it is in the blog. But I thought I would run a kind of a silly experiment, a new kind of adventure. I proposed in this particular blog what would happen if I were a fancy radio producer, wherein I would sit at this cafe and record what happened all day. And I did not do that, but as I did end up back at this cafe after I wrote this, I did decide to use my voice memo app and record what happened as I sat there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that as a background track as I read you the block. You're not going to get all of it because I recorded much more than much more time than it will take for me to read you the blog, but I'll give you a chunk of what the atmosphere was like at this cafe, outdoors, out on the sidewalk. Right. So here we go. It is called "I'm Sorry, but the Temptation to Say This Will Be Great." My favorite cafe closed. And it was really the only choice in this particular neighborhood, which I pass through with some frequency. In the interim, someone has opened a chain cafe that has some decent outdoor seating on a spacious sidewalk, so I've ended up there a few times when I'm in the area. The place is called Joe and the Juice, and it's important that you know its name as I tell you about it because its name is the key to this story. This particular Joe and the Juice sits just south of Columbus Circle and north of Times Square, so it is a well-traveled corridor and a street that many tourists pass by. Having had the occasion to sit here a few times, I've now experienced this phenomenon literally every time I've sat here. Here's what happens as people pass by. They shout, "Joe and the Juice!" Again, this is the name of this place. Every single person says it in a way that sounds as if they felt quite original in their reading of it, and also sounds almost identical to the way every other person has exclaimed it. As I sit there, and I am sitting there now as I write this, I hear a river of "Joe and the Juice!" There is a flow. Well, no, not a flow. It is more like Joe and the Juice popcorn. Every few minutes, someone shouts, "Joe and the Juice!" If I were a devil and I needed someone to call my name a number of times to manifest, I would name myself Joe and the Juice. A short play. Art thou the devil, Joe and the Juice? Aye, that I am, for no one can resist calling my name as they pass this establishment. I find it hilarious and kind of charming how like one another humans can be. This is comforting in these times when so many other things seem irreconcilably different in us. Many of these people would fundamentally disagree on who deserves basic human rights, but they would all be unable to resist calling out, "Joe and the Juice!" while walking by a Joe and the Juice. I'm not quite sure what it is about this place that makes it so hard to resist saying. It's not that it's so popular that people just shout with joy when they see it. Mostly, people seem to be seeing Joe and the Juice for the first time. They are reading its name and discovering it. I suspect they find it amusing. It's a funny pairing, perhaps, or it tells a story. There's this guy, Joe, right? And this is a story about his juice. Or it's Joe and OJ in conversation. It is full of potentiality. It's alliterative and full of monosyllables, so I suspect that's part of it. It has a punchy quality in its rhythm. Metrically, it's known as a chorium because it's like bookended stresses. Is that what makes it irresistible? But it's also basic. What do they sell here? Mostly coffee, colloquially called Joe. And juice. That's what they have here. That's more or less it. That simplicity is possibly the stuff. I'm not here to sell you on Joe and the juice, let me be clear. It's fine, but I wouldn't come here if it wasn't geographically convenient. However, I am absolutely captivated by the human behavior that repeats over and over outside this establishment. There went another one. If I were a fancy radio producer, I would totally come out here with a mic and just record all the people saying Joe and the juice all day long, and then make you a glorious montage. As a humble blogger and blogcaster, I will only tell you about it and let you shout out Joe and the juice yourself. Okay, listen for a second. There's going to be a Joe and the juice sighting.
Really good. Wow.
So that's mostly it. It's a pretty untypical Joe and the juice exclamation, because this is in fact someone who enjoys Joe and the juice and is just telling his friend about it. But what's funny is after I wrote this thing and I sat outside and I recorded 13 minutes, a solid 13 minutes of ambient noise outside of Joe and the Juice, fully expecting to get, multiple shouts of Joe and the Juice. And I got none. And as soon as I stopped recording, of course, there they came. It's like Joe and the Juice was onto me. There is one more Joe and the Juice mention that will be coming up. So I'm letting this run while I talk to you, just in case I can get you there. It's again not a full-throated Joe and the Juice exclamation, and also my phone was like sitting on the table next to me, and so sometimes you would hear it from a distance, and then it gets louder right at the point where they've already stopped saying Joe and the Juice. Well, that's art, right? Sometimes it behaves and sometimes it just does what it wants to. And in this case, we have lots of fun ambient noise in Midtown Manhattan, but no Joe and the Juice shouting. Well, very little. I'm not going to say no Joe and the Juice shouting. I wasn't sure how much I got because I was like trying to write while I was recording. Like I wasn't just recording, I was writing and recording at the same time. So I missed a couple of these, so this took, listening again to really hear these two subtle Joes and the Juices. And I will say I would have recorded more, except that people came outside and actually sat and were talking to each other at the Joe and the Juice tables, which never happens. Never, never. I've been there many times, and I've always been the only one sitting outside. But on this occasion, two other people came out, started talking right near the mic, so I decided I did not want to be the jerk recording their conversation for more than a couple of minutes. And then another pair of people came out, and they were both talking about theater, which I thought was hilarious. Oh, good, some theater talk right here where I sit. Yeah, so... comical. Also, it was a cold day, and I think that means there's less people walking down the street convivially. Is my theory. about why there were fewer Joe and the Juice shouts while I was recording. Like, you hear these people coming, you think, oh, they're the type. They're definitely going to do it. But they didn't. At least not that I heard. So, I'll keep telling you things over this funny ambient noise. What song am I going to do? Well, I have recorded for you Elvis Presley's Devil in Disguise, because obviously Joe and the Juice is the devil in disguise. So that is coming up here in just a moment. Meanwhile, thank you all so much for listening. I hope that this experiment, it wasn't confusing, because sometimes when there's ambient noise in a thing, you're like, oh, is that happening with me right here, right now? I mean, I'm having that experience right now, and I know what it is. I'm like, oh, beep. Oh, that's on my soundtrack here, not on the outdoors. And there's also, you can hear occasionally on this track, there's me like turning the page because I'm writing while I'm doing this recording, and there's me moving pages. Oh, listen to that. Anyway, yeah, so thank you for listening. And if you like the blogcast, please tell someone about it. Social media is fun. Also, real life is nice. If you'd like to support the blogcast, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/Emily R. Davis. There's also Ko-fi and PayPal. All those links are in the show notes. All your support is always appreciated, but also just your ears on this business. That is also appreciated. I don't know how Joe and the Juice would feel about it, but I don't know them. So anyway, I am literally a few moments away from the second Joe and the Juice sighting that is in this audio track. So I feel like I should make up more things to tell you about, because now I've gotten this far. Is it worth the wait? I hope so. I don't even remember what it is now. I just remember that I clocked another moment of juiciness. Here come some people. It's not them though. Okay, it's coming up. That's it. That's all it is. Joe and the Juice, he says. He doesn't even say it the way everybody says it. Well, I hope it was worth the wait for you. It isn't. It wasn't worth the wait. I knew it wasn't. Anyway, I appreciate you all sticking with me on this crazy Joe and the Juice adventure. I will be playing Joe and the Juice on ukulele in just a moment. And I've included a little bit of extra for a couple of you who I know enjoy these particular things. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just, see, they could be saying Joe and the Juice and I wouldn't know it. Although I think I would recognize it. Anyway, I'm going to stop this recording, because here's where the people came and they started talking right next to my recorder. Okay, here it is, Devil in Disguise. You look like an angel, walk like an angel, talk like an angel, but I got wise. You're the devil in disguise. Oh yes you are, devil in disguise. I thought that I was in heaven, but I sure was surprised. Heaven help me, I didn't see the devil in your eyes. You look like an angel, walk like an angel, talk like an angel, but I got wise. You're the devil in disguise. Oh yes you are, devil in disguise. It really is kind of amazing that you, a corporate coffee shop, are the devil. I mean, you do look like an angel, or really like a corporation, but a nice one, a shiny one with bookshelves and a nice paint job. You're the devil in disguise. Oh yes you are, devil in disguise. Devil in disguise. Oh yes you are, devil in disguise. Devil in disguise. Oh yes you are.